11:59.
Where are
So
you
welcome.
yourself? Sorry.
Sorry,
Where are you yourself?
where am I? Oh, I'm in Toronto.
Okay, okay, amazing.
Doing good.
When you said 11:59, I was hoping to hear Lagos time.
Okay. Yes. So we're live on
Yeah.
Instagram at 4:59. So it's about almost 5 o'clock now here in Lagos, Nigeria. So welcome guys to episode 3 of the Crashout show. And today we're having a very interesting topic. I believe that me personally, I believe it's interesting because I like this kind of topics. And so I'm going to start by saying that in 1979, Fela Kuti founded a political party, right? So his idea was that he wanted to clean up Nigeria. And he did, I believe he tried to run for presidency using that party. The party name was MOP, but for some reason he was blocked. They refused his candidacy in 1979 for representing MOP in the presidential elections. And now fast forward to 2020. I believe it was in 2020. We'll find out now in a bit. In 2020, Sheung Kuti tried to revive the party, and for some reason, it's weird, but they've been trying to register the party now since 2020. The name of the party is Movement of the People (MOP), and so we're here to ask a lot of questions and also see if we can find out why the party has not been registered yet and what is really going on. So with me today, I have a very special guest from MOP. His name is Mr. DK Ogbonna, and he's the media representative for MOP. Let's welcome him to the show, everybody. Welcome, Mr. DK. How are you feeling today?
I'm very good, thank you, and I'm glad to be here. Hope you're doing fine as well.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How's everything? How's life? Before we get into everything, how's life? How is work? How is everything going?
Yeah, we give thanks. We give thanks. Pretty much good. The hustle and bustle, up and downs, but in all, we are triumphant. So we give thanks. Thank
Okay,
you.
so before we get into it, can you explain to us what's going on with MOP? What is MOP really? What is it about? For people who don't know, because I believe I know a bit, but for
Okay.
people who don't know.
Yeah. So yes, MOP is built on the legacy of Baba Fela Kuti, but is much more than that today, than just what he started. So grow back to 2020, like you said, we had a huge protest in the country, EndSARS protest. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously that was sparked by, police brutality and all of that. But we know that as a people, there was much more in our hearts, much more like ending bad governance and all of these things that come with it. But as usual, we were not met with a listening ear. We were not met with a government that is concerned about the welfare and the issues that bother the people. Our people were met with the barrel at Lekki toll gate. They were met with the barrel on so many parts of Lagos on the streets in front of their homes. They were met with the barrel in Obibo and so many other places. And EndSARS was quashed. But what would happen to the dream, to the aspirations of suffering Nigerians who want a better government, who want, a better governance system and a country that they can be proud of? We had to sit down and think about it, and we've looked at it, and the only solution to oppression is for the oppressed to be organized. And when I talk about for the oppressed to be organized, it's not about organizing yourself and forming a social club or forming a pressure group for a government that doesn't listen. The best form of organization for the poor and for the oppressed in our society in Nigeria is for the poor to organize into a political unit that spans across the entire federation or the entire nation. So that's what MOP is. MOP is the organized revolution. MOP is the movement of the people in its actual words. The people moving together for a collective liberation, people moving together to end bad governance together systematically, ideologically. Okay. And this is the people trying to replace bad governance with good governance of themselves. So this time around, really expressing that right of self determination and not always being given candidates from the upper class or from the oppressor class that continue to carry out or perpetuate the intentions of the oppressors in general. So MOP is that organization that is there to bring the people together, to give us that political platform grounded in the right ideology, a system where we can show cooperation for ourselves and, create a system of governance that we want for our people.
Okay, that's a lot. But so we bring me to my next question. You said that MOP was started or was revived in 2020, right? So between 1979 and 2020, a lot has happened in Nigeria. Why 2020? Why not 2001? Why not 1978? Why not 1999? Why
Yeah. So
2020?
the thing is, we've been very patient with Nigeria as a people. We've been patient with the oppressors. We've been patient with the political class that continues to reshuffle themselves in power. So why not any of all these years before 2020? It's because we've been law abiding and patient in such a way that we've been hoping on these leaders
So are
to
you
do
not
the
law
right thing.
abiding anymore? You're not law abiding anymore?
We are still law abiding, but I'm saying in our patience, we've stayed law abiding and patient while waiting for these people. Like they advise, they'll keep telling you Nigerians, remain law abiding and be patient. We are on it. They are always on our issues. So we've given them chances. We've tried voting after voting, election after election, and we've run out of patience. But to be able to engage with, especially this APC government when they came in under Buhari's time, to be able to witness uh, what many people would describe as a massacre, happen in our own time. I mean, we've heard about things in stories, the government sending soldiers after protesters. We've heard about all these things historically. We hear about the riot of the protest of University of Ibadan back in the day. Even when we hear about IPOB and all of these things, just because it is a minute group from the east. Many Nigerians were not necessarily connected or showed affection to the plight of those guys, what they faced with the government when they protested. But with EndSARS protest, it was a movement and a moment that connected the youth in a manner in our own time that has never been seen before. Okay, and when the youths came together in that way to genuinely just say end this particular police department that is causing a lot of brutality, and also reshuffle, reorganize yourselves, give us good governance. What we met was the allegation of wanting to overthrow the government. Buhari said if people want to take over my government, and then they just kept on warning them and warning people, trying to use oppression instead of a listening ear, to address that situation. So 2020, October 2020 was the boiling point, and MOP was revived shortly afterwards, after the whole Lekki toll gate situation and all of that. People ran into their homes, but that was not meant to be the end of our organization. That wasn't meant to be the end of us requesting. So we had to, rethink about it and say, look, let's give ourselves that platform. Let's give ourselves uh, that place where we can organize as a people in a way that they didn't even expect us to. And the movement of the people was just perfect, to be revived at that point, understanding what Fela has been complaining about since the 1970s. If things are bad today, imagine how it was when he was singing what he was singing. We will probably think those are the best times of Nigeria. So we looked at it. He represents the struggle of the Nigerian when it comes to activism, when it comes to the desire to be liberated from oppression, and when it comes to speaking up or standing up for yourself. So we chose that movement of the people to be our name because that is what we are actually calling the people to do. We are calling the people to move together.
So let's stay on Fela for a second, right? So in like
Yeah.
like we said in 1979, I believe Fela announced his candidacy in TBS when he declared that he was going to run for the presidential elections, but he was blocked. He was not allowed. His candidacy was rejected. I don't know how that. I don't know that terminology. I don't know how that makes sense. Where you can reject someone's candidacy, right? So he was never president of Nigeria, even though he wanted to be at
Yeah.
some point. Now we have MOP that has been revived, the new MOP. And the new MOP has still also not been registered since 2020. This is 6 years later. What's going on? Is it something that has to do with the party? Is it? Tell us in. Be blunt with us. What is really going on? Why has the party
Yeah.
not been
So
registered till now?
in fact, I wish maybe even the previous INEC chairman before this new one were to be on this call to really tell us what their problem is, right? Because we dealt with that one for a long time before this new one was sent to possibly continue the chokehold. So we can't really tell if the name movement of the people is haunting the people who do not want us to move. We seem to understand the fact that they are quite threatened by that name, movement of the people. And then they are also threatened by the fact that these youths are also, energized based on the legacies and teachings of the legend, Baba Fela Kuti himself. And not just that, but when they listen to us, because they get to come into our programs, they get to hear us speak, they understand that we are not we are not here for maybe material gain, neither are we here for just all talk and no action. They understand how ideologically sound members of the movement are. They understand how, focused we are at trying to really make a positive change in the society. And basically, this is not what these people want. I mean, the guys who want to continue to maintain this oppressive system and, maintain the status quo as it is because of how much they profit of it. So MOP has really faced a lot of resistance politically. We've met all of the requirements severally. The first time that we went to register, they asked us to, get a political office, headquarter in Abuja. They asked us to, get one
So,
million
so you
naira
guys
ready.
got those? You got those?
We
Did
got
you guys get
we
those?
have been paying rent in Abuja for over 6 years for our headquarters, right? We've equipped it, furnished it, and I'm talking about poor people contributing their little pennies to get these things, this place fixed. Talking about poor people contributing their little pennies to pay rent in Abuja all these years, just to keep us legally qualified and ready and compliant to be registered. We've given our applications to INEC over 4 times, and for each time, they just keep coming up with one flimsy excuse or the other. One time they will tell you INEC just concluded elections, they now have by elections. Then after by elections, they will tell you, okay, we now have court cases. We can't register a party when we have court cases. Then by the time they are done with their court cases, this is constant sending lawyers, constantly sending comrades to the place, telling them what else do we need to do. And at some point, they knew that there was nothing else needed from our side because we had completed all legal requirements. They just told us to keep waiting. At some point, they just came and said, um, they just randomly announced a group of 120 applicants, including us. Then they increased that number to 150. And then the last message we got from them was that our logo was similar to another unregistered political party, not a registered political party. Therefore, our application has been discontinued. How can you just discontinue our application?
So, are you
Why
telling me
would
now
you
that the,
choose
the
the other
application
logo
has
over ours?
discontinued? So the application now has been
So
discontinued. Not even that it's in
yeah, so
progress anymore.
automatically they just in a very unprecedented and unjust manner disqualified us and discontinued our application over the similarity of our logo to the other guys that are still
Who are the other
unregistered.
guys?
We don't even know them. They just said that our party logo is similar to another one. We should go work on it. Now we've worked on our new logo because even within all of this period, MOP kind of expanded in its numbers. We amalgamated with people that are called the PRP Vanguard, and we came up with a logo that represents both organizations. And then we've reapplied very swiftly, like very swiftly. But just because there was an actual, conscious intention to sideline us, they've not been able to validate our current application that has every other thing. I mean, we've always met the requirements anyways. But even this very last time that they wanted us to change our logos, we did it and they still don't want to acknowledge it. But to tell you how significant this is, we have used a lot of people to try to speak to the INEC officials to do the right thing, and I wouldn't mention names, but the last advice we got was that we should start making calls.
Calls
What
to
does
vote.
making calls? What does making calls have to do with the protocol, the due process that you should put us through to get us registered? Who are we supposed to call? Some godfather or some sponsor somewhere? The movement of the people do not subscribe to, you know, those kind of ideas of begging some politicians to beg the INEC chairman or get like going through the back doors. We've come through the front door. We kept everything legal. We've met everything. They can never ever say to us at any point in time that we've not met their requirements. We've always met their requirements. All they gave us back was delays and flimsy excuses. So it seems very intentional, really. It seems very intentional. And at this point, we can't tell what they want from us. But I will tell you that the movement of the people is we are geared up to even take INEC to court at the moment over this current injustice and
So so
unjust
so
delay. You know.
so if you're prepared to take them to courts, I want to ask you, what are you really waiting for? Because INEC has registered, I think, two new political. Even though they said there were no more new political parties in 2018, they registered
Yeah, get it.
two.
So you can see what's going on. They
One came in through the courts. So if you're prepared to do that, what is the delay? What are we waiting for right now?
um, I would say, as we speak, MOP solicitors are currently on it. They've tried filing the court case, and I think they were directed to do it through an online portal. I don't know what's really what they're doing there in that aspect, but the lawyers are actually on it. After today, I'm actually meant to get into a briefing to know if it has officially been registered. The application has been tendered to the court, and what next after that. But we are actively, like very actively, on it, and I'm sure within the next 1 or 2 weeks, our court prayers will definitely be tendered.
So within next 1 or 2 weeks, we should be expecting MOP to be meeting with INEC in court. So how does
In
MOP
court,
feel
yeah,
knowing that two new political parties have been registered? Because I remember there was a time when I
yeah,
believe Sheon Kuti was on live and he said something along the line of that INEC had, because of MOP, INEC had stopped registering new political parties, right?
yeah,
But all of a sudden we've seen that two have been registered, even though INEC themselves
exactly.
said that no more new political parties. So how does MOP feel in this kind of situation?
We feel quite betrayed by the system, but we are not surprised. We've just tried to look at who are these people that are being registered through the back, and who are those behind them, and why is INEC choosing them over us that have been persistently applying since as far back as 2022, 2023. We've been applying. We've been going to their office. We've been speaking to them. So if there's anybody that should be on the top priority on that list, it should be the movement of the people. Not just that, we started a campaign last year called Register to Rise campaign. This was a campaign that we started out of the frustration from INEC, their incessant delays and flimsy excuses. So we started a campaign to expose all of these things to the public and to pressure them to give us a date when the registration portal will be open. It was 2 weeks into our Register to Rise campaign that INEC came out on the news to announce the opening of the portal and announce the applications from parties and all of that. Now, after we ignited that fire, they went into the process and then sidelined us.
Wow.
So how can you then take away the people who started the campaign, the people who called for the portal to be open, and then you just from nowhere we hear there's a court order to register one party. We see ADC coming up. We see or NDC and all of these things. So we kind of understand that they want to take that energy and give it to a different person. Take that whole energy of us demanding for them to do the right thing, get parties registered, and they have a law that says they're not allowed to register parties at least maybe should I say 12 or 10 months to the election time. So they intentionally continue to drag and drag and drag till they get to that legal window where they can say, you know what, by policy we're not allowed to register now until after the election. And this is a party that is trying to get on the ballot box. So it's it's very sad. It's quite betraying, and which is what has called for us to say, you know what, we can't keep sending lawyers to them privately. We can't keep sending comrades to go speak to them privately. We've got to take them to the court. Not like we have the best confidence in the court itself, but we've seen. at least on two occasions now that they've registered parties based on court orders. So we would like the court to examine our viability for registration, to examine our documents and everything, and then question them on what their delays are. Why would they disqualify us or sideline us?
This is very deep. Yeah. So let's
It's
talk
sad.
about MOP's ideology. What is MOP's ideology first and foremost? What spectrum?
Yeah.
What side of the spectrum is MOP on?
Yeah, so built on Pan Africanism, MOP projects what we call scientific socialism as our ideology.
What does this mean? What is the
Now,
difference between this and democratic socialism?
sorry, come again.
What does this mean, and what is the difference between this scientific socialism and democratic socialism?
Okay, so scientific socialism, in its sense, is giving the idea of socialism a practical approach. Some people have this utopic idea of socialism, and it's not grounded in a scientific method to achieve the goals or the tenets of that idea. So basically, where you analyze the situation of the society, based on facts, based on the facts of the economical facts, the standard of living, you evaluate the society based on class relations. And when we talk about class relations, we're talking about like the divisions that exist between the upper class and the lower class, or the oppressors and the oppressed. Okay, you talk about evaluating the economic structure, um, looking at all of these things, then you come up with a practical and scientific plan to not just reevaluate or reshuffle the system, but to re-engineer the system in such a way that it is people centered. And when we say a people-centered system, we have a slogan that goes African solutions for African people, or African solutions for African problems, or Nigerian solutions for Nigerian problems. Not just that, but Nigerian resources for the Nigerian people. So socialism in its sense is using the resources that belong to the people to actually develop and enrich the people. It's not a situation where a particular sect of people control the capital that runs the economy, because that's what we have today. Capitalism versus socialism. In our current state, we see the capitalists who have been, you know, given the privilege to advance our society in terms of development and all of that due to their access to capital. But in a socialized or in a socialist society, the capital is of the people, is for the people. Okay, every means of revenue owned by the government is duly benefited from by the people. And we believe that this is what we need as Nigerians to turn around this engineered poverty that we seem to have lived in for so many years.
So, what would you say to people who will tell you that socialism has not worked in any situation or any country in the world? They will always tell you, look at Cuba, for example, and they will tell you about GDP. How do you explain
Yeah.
that to them that
So
this is a socialist construct?
every ideology has limitations. But if anybody tells me that socialism has not worked, and then I'll ask them, why hasn't it worked? What is this? What is that system that constantly goes against socialism? Let us take Cuba, for instance. Without the economic sanctions coming from America, Cuba would do well. And they've done so well for themselves because they've been able to even produce a lot of what they use and then made allies with other countries. But even these countries are still facing their own sanctions themselves. So we see that the reason why socialism has not worked in the way we expect it to is because of the opposition from outside, not because the idea in itself is not viable. If you look at what is going on in Burkina Faso and some the AES nations today, it is very close to socialism, whereby they are trying to galvanize the resources of the people to create working systems, agricultural systems, economic systems that would directly benefit the people. So give socialism an enabling environment, and it's definitely going to be successful. Now, we don't want to go into the already in place capitalist idea, because that would only make you want to replace the oppressor yourself, and you now become the new oppressor. What do I mean? How can you? How can you decentralize the manufacturing of sugar or cement in a capitalist system? The men with the capital will continue to fight against that policy. The men with the capital will continue to put their political puppets in power that will then enact policies that will favor them. In a socialist system, even the way you determine who you be or who will be your leader is very people based, very people centered and transparent. So that at all times it is the people's decisions and the people's interest that always takes the forefront of such a government, not the interest of the few that sponsor that government, which is what we see in our current time.
Okay. So every every political ideology unchecked becomes something else. For example, capitalism unchecked becomes fascism, right? Socialism unchecked
Yes,
becomes communism, right? Let's
yes.
say that you MOP manages to register the party and MOP becomes you present the first president, the first socialist president of Nigeria. What are your plans to keep that ideology in check to make sure that we don't end up being on the extreme end of the spectrum?
Yeah, so one of our key principles is accountability. Okay, how can we institute a government of the people, and how can we maintain accountability from that government, towards the people at all times? Now we've talked about different, in our meetings, in our brainstorming sessions, we've proposed setting up what you call like check and balance systems, that would constantly, make sure that the government of the day stay true to not just the ideology, but the practical promises that has brought them to power. Now, when you talk about check and balance, one of the I don't know if this is an entirely new idea, but we have something that is called like the Office of the People, right? Which is not something that is created that we have in Nigeria at the moment, but this is an
Oh,
idea that gives the people an organization, not more like the way you have the Labor Congress or the Labor,
is
the
there is
actual
there is there
the
anywhere
Labor
that
guys.
is there anywhere that this is in practice right now? This idea of office of the people, is there any country or anywhere that is in practice of right now?
I cannot think of any culture. As I'm saying, I don't think it's an entirely new idea where we brainstormed and got all of this from. But this was one of the ideas that passed on as a way that we can ensure that the people are not in government. But like when the people have their government, they as well have a union or a system in place that constantly keeps that government in check and keep
But
it in line.
isn't this
So
isn't
that,
this isn't this directly in line with the Senate being representation of the people also? They are supposed to keep
yeah,
the
the
government in
Senate,
check.
the Senate are being paid by the government, right?
Oh, okay.
So if for any reason they will be biased due to allegiance, we are talking about people that will be made up of artisans, and the skilled workers of the society, right? Not the political actors now, but on the opposite side, working as people who are providing check and balances, constantly. It's not even at a time when they feel the government is failing, but an active organization of the people that would always remain there to keep the government in check. Currently, when people maybe have hope in a particular government system, they go back home. They just go back home and go about their businesses and wait for the government to either do well or fail. And in most cases, they fail. But when they fail, they keep failing over and over, and it takes a long time before the people are able to galvanize themselves together again cohesively and agree on one thing to be able to come against such government. So now we are saying, once we are able to come together and actually instate a government of the people, we're not just going to go to our homes. We are going to now institutionalize that unity or that union that has led to a new governance system. And this union is going to be taxed with keeping this government, true to its ideology and true to the promises that brought it, to power.
Okay, thank you for explaining that in depth. Let's move on to your the party's manifesto, right? So I see in your manifesto there's a part where you say Africa for Africans. What does that even mean? Are you telling us that Africa is currently occupied? And if Africa is occupied, who are the occupiers of Because when I come to Africa, when I'm in Africa, I only see black people. I only see my fellow
The only
Muslim
Arab.
people. So what do you mean by
All
Africa
right.
for Africans? Is it Africa for Americans that are running right now? Is it Africa for Europeans? Is it Africa for Asians? What do you mean by Africa for Africans?
So currently, Africa is not being. Yeah, you may say that if you come to Africa, you see a lot of African or black people. Let me just put it this way: we have gold, we have lithium, we have cobalt, we have coltan, and then we also have the common one, crude oil. How many Africans are able to control these resources? Which African government really determines the value
Isn't
of any
Dangote
of these
African?
resources?
Is Mr. Dangote not an
Sorry?
African? Isn't Dangote an African man?
Yeah, Dangote, even though he's African, right? He does not. How would I put it now? Okay, the cement he sells is not the cheapest in the world. He doesn't sell cement to Africans at the cheapest price. If you check it gross, um, um, with the value of other places, right? Now he's an example of the capitalist system or Mr. Capitalist, right? In such a way that instead of his wealth to go towards building more wealth for the people, he creates a monopoly around the resources of the people. And by so doing, he's creating wealth for himself and multinational corporations. Now, these multinational corporations are benefiting more from our resources than we who own the resources. So, who owns the country? Is it not these multinationals? They seem to be the one to benefit the things that should come to the people. So we just seem to exist in this place as, as workers, as the masses, as they like to call us. We don't even see ourselves as citizens because we don't benefit what is due to citizens. They in the political power and their friends are the ones who get to be treated like citizens of the country. So when we say Africa for Africans, we're trying to say the African resources belong to the Africans, should be controlled by the Africans, determine, the value, the use, the market, the even if it has to be, how would you call it? Transformed from raw material to finished product. This should be determined by us, and we should determine who we sell it to. At the current stage, we get a government that keeps taking loans from foreign governments, right? And these loans, who's going to have to pay for it when they go out of power? Is we the people. So now we have foreign debts on our neck, right? That is not, and that's
So are
our
you
home could be
saying
the
so
collateral.
are you saying that MOP is not going to take any loan when they come into power?
Well, before we will engage in the
Notice
idea
I didn't
of
say if,
taking
I
loans,
said when they come into power, not if they come into power. So when MOP
when
comes
we
into
come
power,
into power, I think that would be a very last resort. And if at all we would be taking loans from anybody, it's definitely not going to be the IMF
why?
or any of the. Why not? There are some loans that are more like a noose over your neck than a relief from your problem. Okay, sometimes they don't give you these loans with the intentions of you being able to develop your government or develop your society. If they knew most of these politicians would develop their societies, they won't give them. They know that they are going to come and bank it back in their banks in Europe and buy luxury cars and homes for themselves. That's why they actually get these things. These loans are not necessarily there for the development of Africa. I'll give you an example. I heard, and I'm yet to verify this, that the government of Burkina Faso demanded for about $125 billion or whatever, maybe their currency, and their citizens in diaspora were able to contribute that. Why am I saying
Oh,
this?
okay, okay.
That
Their own currency, right?
government,
Not dollars, not US
I
dollars.
think it's their currency. That's why I'm yet to verify if it's their currency or if it was some dollar, but I know that whatever it is they demanded for, their own citizens in diaspora were able to meet up with that. Nigeria has more population of people outside of the country doing better that are willing to contribute to the
Are you sure
government.
about this?
If Yeah, there are people who are willing to. I mean, look at what happened during the last election when we thought, or when the people, not even a large majority, when some of the people thought that P2B was going to be the person to liberate us from this political oppression, they sort of galvanize themselves. Even said he shouldn't bring his own money. They will organize themselves. So we have people who are willing. I mean, a lot of us are tired of the bad system. And if all we can do is just contribute the little that we've got to the right people to do the right thing, I think a lot of Nigerians are willing to do that. Also, we have a lot of politicians who have stolen so much wealth, stolen so much money. And I mean, I'm of the opinion that nobody leaves this earth. It's only human beings that, could die and go, but their money and their wealth remain here. So all that they have stolen from us, we can get back. So we would first of all exhaust retrieving, the stolen wealth from all of the past politicians, senator, governor, president, everybody before we consider loans. And I'm sure there will be a lot in our coffers, and then considering what we can be able to produce and manufacture and give ourselves as revenue as a government. So loan from IMF or any of these foreign governments is going to be a very last resort. I think we have a lot to exhaust. We have a lot of options to exhaust that will give us money. If Abacha is still giving us money, what more Obasanjo or Tinubu and all the past governors of River State and Delta and all Bayelsa, Ibori, all these people, they have money. So they'll give us, they have a lot to give us. Dangote, they have money to give us. They have things to return back to the society. And we are talking about the political actors. They have people who are behind the scene that their names don't get to be called so much in public, but they are part of the king makers and, the cabal. They have a lot to, people who have owned oil wells in Nigeria for a long time and extracted our wealth. They have a lot to give us before we go out of the country to look for loans. So yeah, there's money. We've got money as a nation.
You've got body. I like that.
As a
So,
nation.
before we move forward, let's take one quick question, right? Because I think this
Yeah.
question is pertinent. So the user has asked, Yomi Bax has asked, the ideologies are there, but what is the plan for action? The local government level is the most effective if we're talking about resource management. Is MOP considering this? What level of government are you aiming for? Which is a very valid question. Because the,
Yeah.
the, the biggest problem
So
that people have with someone like Shore was that they say, oh, why don't you start from local government? Why don't you start from
yeah.
governorship? Why are you going for presidency? Is that the same thing that MOP is doing?
No, MOP is looking at the thing from a holistic point of view. Once we are registered as a political party, the empowerment is coming from the grassroots to the top. We might have a presidential candidate, but that might not necessarily be our target, but we are focused on organizing from the grassroots up. Even right now that we are not yet officially registered as a political party, we have a lot of grassroots presence, right? The template of MOP is organized from street to street, organized from house to house, not from state to state or region to region, street to street, house to house. So that is the same template. We are organizing from the ground up. It is the movement of the people from the ground up. So definitely the local governments, the councils, the local government council, somebody call, yeah, you have the councillors, yeah, you have the local government, you have the House of Rep, and then the senators and all of that. Our target is, you know, as long as we have a viable candidate for this position in any particular state, we will throw our support, around such a person. There is no MOP is not where you say is Shehu Kuti your presidential candidate or is Shehu Kuti your leader. No, it is a gathering of leaders. And if anybody does not see themselves as a leader, it is an MOP that you will find out that you are indeed a leader. So we are not here to try to give you our solution. We are as much as people are concerned to, do the right thing in our society. We are here to give you that platform and that opportunity. So it's at all levels, really, at all levels.
Okay, so this is great because it even brings me to the next question that I have, right? So we have INEC currently has 22, I think about 22 registered political parties in their system. So are you telling us that within these 22 political parties, there's no other political party that MOP shares ideology with, that MOP is considering a merger with? Because that's the new political fantasy now, where everybody is merging with one
Yeah,
party or the other. Is there no
yes.
party, not even
So
Shore's party?
I'll come to Shore, right? I'll come to I'll come to the AAC. But before that, it's very interesting that one of these parties that was recently registered by INEC, via the court order and everything, seems to have exactly what MOP is projecting as ideology and solutions. They just, it seems like a photocopy. We can't now tell what is really at play here. Is this power play to replace the idea with, okay, since this is what you people are leading towards, we've given it to you already. The way we may say we want youths in power, and then they present their own youth that will do their bidding and say, yeah, youth in power. So now we've come up with the idea of scientific socialism, and even a touch of Pan-Africanism, because we believe in the unity of African nations. They are now presenting a registered political party that has a very similar
What's
idea.
the name of this party?
Uh,
Democratic Leadership Alliance.
yeah, I think it's either ADA or
We'll find it
I
out
don't
later.
have
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I'll find out their name. So we are not really certain who they are and what they're doing. There's another party that we sort of, they're not a registered party. They kind of broke away from a registered party. So we have the PRP, right? And then you have the PRP Vanguard. The PRP Vanguard are a breakaway from the PRP. But these people subscribe to the ideologies of Aminu Kano and socialism as well. And we've been able, and they are very, very much grounded in the northern part of Nigeria. MOP recently, you know, joined forces with them. You can call it amalgamated or something. So now they are part of us. Okay. And again, with the AAC, these are people that we have close ties with as comrades. Whenever we are in need, the comrades from the AAC and the Taking Back movement always come through. And whenever they are in need as well, we always come through. The only thing is this: when it comes to elections, when it comes to voting, MOP members are not told, see who you would vote and see who you wouldn't vote. We are a political party. We already see ourselves as a political party, but we are not officially registered. So we don't have official candidates. And then we would not endorse any of these people officially. But our members, a lot of them lean towards the AAC when they don't see MOP on the ballot paper. And that is because of how close AAC is to MOP ideology, but in practice and in what they say. But their structure is not entirely conducive to assimilate MOP. But as a people, as long as our own party is not yet registered, parties such as AAC that has close ties and close ideas to that of ours, officially do get our support, but not in an official way.
When you say their structure is not conducive, what does that mean? Does that mean that they don't have office in Abuja or they don't have office in Lagos? What does
No, no,
that
no.
mean?
Of course, they do have an office in Abuja.
Because this is your own,
um,
because INEC
yeah.
structure,
So
they've met INEC structure.
yes.
You haven't
So
met INEC structure.
this
So
is
why you?
this is Soros organization,
Mhm.
and they have their own values and their own procedures, and they have their own processes to decision making. MOP may be proposing a different process to decision making, right? And if that does not align with them, then it's either we are coming there to change what they are doing, or we'll have to change our processes to their own process just because we are now one. So what we've come to understand is this: as long as we are in of mutual agreement in terms of political ideology, political ideology, as long as we are in mutual agreement and understanding, then there's nothing that stops us from working together. So an AAC government in power that is doing the right thing will definitely get MOP support. And an MOP's government in power doing the right thing will always get AAC, support. So I think there is that cooperation, but there's not the conditions are not very conducive for an actual fusion of the two
Right.
parties into one.
But don't you think that at some point you have to make sacrifices? Because we can't keep waiting for INEC. You know what INEC is playing. You know the game INEC is playing, and I don't think
Yeah,
you can win that game, to be honest. Because INEC
we
is,
can, we will.
you can try. You can try to win the game, right? You can try. I hope that you win the game, but Nigeria's reality is very different from what we should be. So don't you think that at some point you
Yeah.
have to make some compromises and also say, okay, if this is not working this way, because if MOP or AAC gets into power, then you can change the rules to now re-register MOP as a standalone party. So are you
Yes,
not thinking
I
about
mean,
doing that
like
route
I said,
also?
our support for AAC is unwavering. It's not just in a way that we would come out as a party and say we endorse Sowore for. That hasn't happened yet. That may happen, but that hasn't happened so far because we've been trying to build, and in trying to build, you present yourself as the option first. So, and in that sense, is what we've told our people. When we are not yet there as the option, choose who you think will do the right thing. A lot of MOP members were caught between, in the last election, they were caught between Obi and Sowore. None of them went for either Kwakwaso, Tinubu, or all of these other guys that fully represent the oppressor class. So, but over time, I can tell you that our support and cooperation with AAC is continues to grow. Really, continues to grow. It the way it is this year is not how it was last year. It's not even how it was last 2 years. So I think with every turn of events, we find more reason to work together. So we've not just found that reason to say MOP should join. I think we may not ever join them as to say they've assimilated us, but they would always have our support when it comes to elections and all of that, as long as we're not there officially. Even when we are there officially, I'm sure we'll support each other. So even if it means supporting them to power, yeah, we are very much willing to do that. But MOP is not necessarily the problem when it comes to AAC. It's the way the people perceive Sowore, which is what MOP has a problem with, or some of us in MOP have a problem with. And we, I mean, I would speak on that and I will say that for some reason, I don't know why, but we seem to want to design who our own messiah or who our savior would be. Nigerians would look at Sowore and tell him, does he think this is SUG government? So is he wrong to have started in the SUG? Is he wrong to have been active from his university days? So what do you want from him? Why would you discredit him? Some people will say they rather vote for a politician that has tasted power before than to vote for him that has not tasted power before. And I'm like, how does that qualify for who will do the right thing? So that means even you yourself do not see yourself as worthy of a chance because you've not held power before. So I hope Nigerians will be able to give themselves the same standard that they give to him because they keep putting him down. They keep saying he continues to vilify all of the other political candidates as if he's the only good person. Well, let them present to us a good person. I've not seen. Now, even the other guy that people thought at some point would do the right thing, if you listen to his campaign speeches and his intentions for government, he just wants to carry out the capitalist system. He wants to continue it. He wants to invite even more foreign investors. When we are saying no more foreign investors, invest locally, start building the local economy and the local industries. He wants to bring in more investors. He wants to send tractors to the north. What happens to family in the west? What happens to family in the south? Or in the East. So he's more like a people
This guy that
pleaser.
you're talking
And
about, who is this guy that you're talking about?
I'm not campaigning against anybody. Let's leave him. Let's leave it there. I don't want to. I don't want to turn this like to say, it's a campaign against anybody. But I'm just trying to. If people know what I'm saying,
I
if they
don't.
follow the
So
campaigns
if people
properly,
know, then they know. But me, I don't.
yeah. But I've called his name before, but after that comment I just made, I don't want it to seem like I'm campaigning against him. But yeah, some of them may have good better records than their counterparts due to their generation of politics. You know, our politicians are now going towards the way. How would I put it? They are now emulating the new age politicians of the West, whereby they have very good paperwork, they dress simply, they speak very nicely, but in all of that paperwork, there's a lot of bad governance that is, being covered up and a lot of compliance to the system being covered up as well. So it's one thing to say, I'm not going to harm my people, but if you're going to harm them, I won't stand in your way. I just want to do my work and go. There's another thing to say, I'm going to protect my people and I wouldn't let you take advantage of them because that's my duty. That's the kind of leader we need.
Okay, let's let's move away from that for a bit here. Let's say hypothetically, you MOP manages to register the party and some way somehow wins presidential, senate, governorship, total takeover of
Wow.
Nigeria. and you
Total,
manage
total
to
takeover.
inherit this current APC government with all the problems and crises. What is MOP's plans to tackle things like security, education, healthcare, infrastructure? What is the plan that MOP has for all this?
Yeah. So I don't know how I can break that down in a few minutes, but let us say MOP inherits. Obviously, we know we are going to inherit a a, a deteriorated system. Okay, a grounded ship is what we are going to get, and then we'll have to start rebuilding from the scratch up. One thing that we believe in MOP is in the power of our human resources. Nigerians have been made to not believe in themselves in such a way that we do not think that we can build a nation or a civilization without foreign experts or foreign investors or foreign companies. But that's not true. We have all it takes. We have the right initiatives, we have the right skills. All we need is the right leadership and then resources. And you will see our people bloom in different ways. So when it comes to education, for example, MOP has a template for a new curriculum, a new academic curriculum, an African centered academic curriculum that would
You keep using
that
the
would
word
re-
Africa, Africa. Are you telling me that they are not teaching Africa now, or who are they teaching? What is going on in the curriculum now that is not Africa?
if they tell you in school that Bongo Park discovered River Niger, is that is that is that our story or is that a Western story? If they tell you in school that there is a place called Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe or um, is that, I mean, who is Victoria? Did she ever fall in that place? So we're talking about real the idea coming from our own people, our own teachers, our own philosophers, our own thinkers, our own philosophy as a people and our own information as a people. And it's not something that you will say is already grounded and has gotten to its peak. We are trying to set the foundation whereby continuous development, continuous academic and philosophical development will remain indigenous and genuine to our people. Okay, so imagine mathematics being taught in Yoruba and Hausa and indigenous languages. Imagine physics being taught in indigenous languages, right? That means I don't need to pass maths. I don't need to pass English. It doesn't need to be a major requirement for me to gain admission. I need to know my own language. Now that is standard. Why would Nigeria say pass maths and English? Now, maths for calculation, English for what? For colonial
Communicate with the
statements
outside
or for
world.
colonial identity.
Communicate with the
Yeah,
outside world.
but why make it a priority over indigenous languages? I was among those who paid fine for speaking my indigenous language as vernacular in my own school. I'm talking
I
about
see
a
where the pain
school
is
in,
coming from now.
yeah, I grew up, I attended a school in Igbo land and I'm speaking Igbo and I'm having to pay fine for speaking vernacular. That is because the education is Western and the standards are Western, not African. So they are trying to westernize me in the educational system. But we are trying to create a situation where you Africanize the African child through the African education system. So we have that, proposal, a total overhaul of the current academic curriculum and rebuilding it to be more African centered or Afro centered. Then when it comes to medication, really, I won't speak much, but I will tell you some of the things that we've done already as an organization. We've been able to put together experts in, should I say, things like nutrition and certain aspects of medicine that propose and have created a more holistic system of treatments or eating and all of that takes you away from all of these industrial processed foods and all of these things that causes a lot of sicknesses in our people. But what am I trying to say? That we have a lot of medical experts, pharmaceutical experts that can re-engineer that particular industry to promote more of our health than what we see today, whereby they cause a lot of damage and they're just there to manage our health system. They're not necessarily there to heal us. I mean, if you look at what's happening today, the best of our doctors, the best of our nurses are being extracted from the society through economic pressure, and they're being sent out to the West. And there they don't
Is it
even
under
go there and
pressure,
become.
or are they running from bandits?
Even banditry is part of the pressure, but banditry is an intentional pressure. They want us out of our villages so that multinationals can buy our villages. Economic
So what's
pressure
your
in
plan
terms of
to
lack
what's
of
your plan for that? What's
for
the immediate
banditry.
plan
I don't know.
for insecurity?
For insecurity, now when it comes to insecurity, we look at our military, right? How motivated our military, how well equipped are our military. We are not going to put guns and the responsibility of security in the hands of civilians, but there will be an overhaul of that military to make sure that we have competent hands. It's either we have a military or we don't, but we cannot go there and have people. We cannot have a military being run by repentant terrorists, and we cannot have military commanders at the top and then there are troops or the boys at the beneath them coming down to work with the people and defend our borders to be terrorists who just terrorize us today, join military tomorrow. So we are going to try to create a standard military. First of all, the idea of the soldiers, they need to be intelligent. They're not just there to handle guns and wear uniform and oppress the people. Of course, we know the military started from the West African Frontier Force. So we are going to try to break away from that orientation of a military system that protects the oppressors against the uprising of the people. We now have to recreate a military system that sees themselves as warriors of the people. Now, when they see themselves, because we've had a serious conversation about the difference between a soldier and a warrior. A soldier is a symbol of a system that seeks to oppress a people and take over a people's land and keep them in line. But the warriors are those who are willing to give their life for their own people. A warrior will not come into his community and start flogging the mothers and the children for wearing a band that looks like his own. But our military will flog us for wearing camouflage because of what? You wear cabo, I wear cabo because I'm proud of your uniform, and then you start oppressing me and start flogging me. Are you right thinking? Are you okay? And you're supposed to be a soldier that protects me. So currently, when we as Nigerians see soldiers or see policemen as law-abiding citizens, you become afraid. What is going to be the next allegation? What's going to be the next thing that they will do to me right now? But we need to revamp that institution to give back pride and dignity and protection, genuine protection to the people. It comes with re-educating them. So we first of all raise the standard of the bar in terms of being a soldier for you to have the right education, then give them the right equipment and with the right morale, everything with the right morale, the right equipment, and the right ideology, I think we would have a better military system that would not just put an end to insurgency, but to also make sure that it doesn't happen again. And the one last thing I'm going to say on the issue of insecurity is that our current military, is those of them that are not yet compromised, they do not lack the resources to overcome insecurity and banditry. The issue stopping them from taking care of banditry and insecurity is more political than it has to do with maybe weapon or resources or even morale. Morale is dropping because they get to feel the plight of the people. I mean, our soldiers are not aliens; they come from our families, so they understand our problems and our pain. But in most cases, their hands are tied because they cannot advance against these terrorists, against these bandits, because these bandits represent some political, you know, officers who currently have public offices or, have had public offices, but they are protecting the interests of certain politicians. So this is one of the issues. But if we're able to tackle it from the political side of things, I'm sure militarily these guys are, they don't stand a chance.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been wonderful talking to you. Just one last question, and like that you can answer in maybe 30 seconds, right? It's a very
Yeah.
cheeky question, but so I see your hat here. Is the same kind of hat that your berets? Is the same kind of berets that
Okay.
Che Guevara wore? I think it's the same kind of
Yeah.
berets that Showere's group AAC is wearing. Is this the beret? Does it symbolize the radicals of the earth? And is it the new symbol of being radical? I know some other people that wear the same kind of berets. Is there a similarity in what you guys do? There are no soldiers
You
wearing
could call it.
sometimes.
You
Some
can
others
call
wear
it that.
soldiers also.
It's okay. First of all, it's also it's a sign of camaraderie. We are comrades, and we are not just comrades. We are as well soldiers of the people. We are defending ourselves. This barrette means that I am at war and I'm ready to defend. Okay, and people ask me who is fighting you. I'm at war economically. I'm being oppressed from all sides of the economy, all sides of my nation. Okay, the government, politicians are betraying me. They are sending the police against me. They are sending the military. They are bringing in bandits. There's economic pressure. There is, from every angle of my existence as a being, there is an attack. At least I'm talking about representing the typical Nigerian citizen. So this barrette means I'm conscious of this and I'm actively fighting against it. And victory is certain. So whenever you see any of us wear this, you know that this is not somebody who's just there to not, or it's not somebody who doesn't understand what is going on. This is a sign of consciousness and a sign of being ready to fight ideologically and otherwise. So yes, you can call it, it's one of the ways you could know. If I use the word a rebel, I don't want people to see that in a negative light. But we're talking about people who are rebelling against an oppressive system. So in that sense, rebellion becomes a positive endeavor. And yeah, so this definitely symbolizes all of that revolt against oppression. So
Okay, Mr. DK, thank you so much for joining us today. Instagram is about to kick us out. Thank you very much for coming on the live. And like you said, victory is certain. I do hope that MOP achieves victory, because victory for MOP is victory for the entire Nigeria, I believe, in my own
yes, and Africa at large. Yes, it's been
Africa
a
at large.
pleasure being here. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back again, to continue our conversations and the different aspects. But yeah, it's
And
been great.
so, how do people link up with MOP? Where do they go? What do they do? A random person that is listening to this and say, "Oh, I want to join
Yeah,
MOP. I want
so
to join." What do they
our
do?
website is mopnigeria.org. mopnigeria.org. Everything about us you can find there, including being able to register as a member, is completely and entirely free. You don't have to pay anything to become a registered member of the political party of MOP. And there's a lot to benefit from us when you join us. First of all, you're contributing your quota towards our collective liberation. But we have a lot of educational series that go on, educational programs that we do internally, externally as well. We have access to a lot of African centered authored books and libraries. So we have a lot of things that are there for our members. We have a welfare hub that brings in entrepreneurs, that's young people who have resources, and we merge them with other people who have skills and services to provide, so that we can keep the money circulating amongst the poor and we rise that way. So there's a lot of things to benefit, there's a lot of things to know, and there are a lot of ways people can contribute. But first of all, you've got to be a member. Even if you're not a member, you could, support the movement, support the organization financially and otherwise. So our website once again is mopnigeria.org. We have merch products. People that don't want to register or don't want to affiliate or one thing, you could buy our merch, and the fund still goes towards the success of the movement and the party.
Okay, thank you so much. That was. I hope you guys go. So the website is mopnigeria.org, and I believe their Instagram is at MOP Center. So please give them a like, follow,
Yes.
and everything. And you can connect with Mr. DK also if you want. His Instagram is D underscore Kolo1, right?
Yeah. So DEE
DEE.
underscore KOLO1.
All
Yes.
right. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, guys, it's been amazing talking to Mr. D, Mr. DK, Mr. D Kolo One on issues bothering Nigeria and seeing what the political party is planning for Nigeria. And I believe that it's great and awesome. Thank you guys for joining today, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace. What's up, man?
So